Okay, Charlie, I wanted to show you how I would approach doing this. You really should build this subdivision surfaces, which in Fusion 360 is referred to as T-splines. So basically, your shape is like a box, a twisted box is really what it is. So if we start off with a cube and build on the bottom, make it pretty much square, and then we'll need to pull up the height on it to give it some more height. You can always scale and stuff later. This is sort of like building subdivision surfaces in Max or Maya. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so Alt 1 turns it into its box mode, and Alt 3 turns it into the smooth mode. So now we can come in here and to get into this form and to edit it, don't do that. I always have just to do this. Not move copy. You're going to right click and you're going to go edit form. Now you can pick vertices or edges or polygons. So I'm just double clicking to pick all of these, and then we can rotate these, which will form a little twist, which is what you are after, is getting your bottle to kind of twist it a little bit. So we'll grab the top up here and we'll twist that a little bit more. So you can work at it at the box state or at the smooth state, either one. I kind of bounce back and forth. Okay, Alt 3. Now we're starting to get kind of a form. Now, we can do a thing just for right now to kind of look at it. We could do a thing called Crease Edge. And so you can crease these edges, which just makes the edges harder. Eventually, we don't want to do this because we'll do subdivision surfaces, but this will kind of make it so you can kind of see the form better. So all it's doing is making all these edges have, be hard so they don't smooth out. And then you can kind of see the form that you're getting in there without it being so kind of bulbous up there at the top. So we scale that in. So let's take this bottom and maybe scale it out a little bit. Maybe something like that. I'm not going to make the shape exactly like the shape. So I was going to give you some ideas of how to approach this, because creating that twist in the bottle is kind of an unusual thing. So I think this might be the easiest method to do that. Okay, so I'm going to uncrease these now, and we'll go in and put some locking loops in here for subdivision surfaces, so that we'll get that rounded edge of a bottle. Okay, so we uncrease those edges, And now what we're going to do is come in here and put some locking loops on this. Now there's really two ways that you can do this. One way is by cutting it, and in here it's called insert point, which is basically cutting it. And I think I want to do vertical first. So you're inserting points and it's cutting between the points. You'll have to stop in between so it doesn't cut across it. So this is kind of like the cut tool in Max. That'll tighten that edge up, more like what you have in your sketch. Okay, so we just need to continue cutting these points to tighten up these edges. Okay, there's another tool in here, insert edge, and that's another way to do this. So you just pick the edges, and then you'll drag the little blue icon which side you want it on, and then that'll cut across it too. Sometimes I get some funky distortions with this, but it's a pretty good tool too. Okay, so that's kind of got all your kind of locking loops going around the edge to hold the edges. So back to Alt 3, and that's looking pretty close to your bottle. Okay, so we need to do that at the top, but you can see how we're getting kind of a weird little thing there that happens sometimes, so better off just inserting points in here. And we need to do the bottom too. So that's looking pretty good. I think I'm going to cut it across the bottom and pull it up a little bit so it's not, so the angle's not so steep when it first starts coming up. Okay, and then we can also scale these. Oop. oops, not scale. The gizmos, it got a move, a scale, a rotate. You have to kind of get used to this gizmo. All right, so if I drag the corner of that gizmo, it'll scale out in those two axes, X and Y. Okay, so that should cause it to come up a little bit before it smooths out. So you just have to keep inserting edges, rotating edges and scaling them until you get the shape that you want. Fusion 360 is just like any other software and subdivision services. You can delete polygons, insert polygons, you can cut it, insert vertexes, all kinds of things that you can do. Your top piece, you know, the little plunger is not that hard to create, but this bottom piece is since it's so organic, a lot of people would struggle with this, and that was one reason I went ahead and did this video through subdivision services, because I think that's one of the easiest ways to build this shape. Okay, I'm going to cut across here in the center. Okay, that looks pretty good. It's gotten kind of squatty now, so we'll probably want to pick the top edges and kind of pull it up so it's not so squatty looking, but that's starting to capture the essence of your bottle pretty good. Alright, so we need to go ahead and cut across the top too. It's still a little bulbous up there. And then back across the last one. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, that's pretty close. Hopefully this kind of opened it up and showed you some different ways that you could approach this. I think the subdivision is a better way. Then eventually what you'll do is the little green button up there at the top, you'll click it to finish the form, and then it turns it into a body. You can always come back to it and re-edit it, but I think this gives you a pretty good idea of how to approach this. Okay, I hope this helped you out, Charlie. Thank you.